Hi, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Gopher Talk presented by Affinity Plus. I'm Frank Mazzocco and joined by Justin Holl. Justin, this is a crazy time for all of us, but as you well know, we are doing a lot of reminiscing this spring. And of course, we're going back to 2014. Hey, first of all, thanks for joining us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
First of all, let's check in. You're in good health and staying busy, I would imagine, and this, which would have been your first full season with the Toronto Maple Leafs. First of all, health-wise, everything going good, your conditioning going good, and tell us about your first year with the Leafs.
Yeah, for sure. Feeling good right now, just trying to stay in shape and be ready if we get the call to start again. And, I think all the players are motivated to start again, so hopefully that's something that we can figure out. But in terms of the season was great. Got my foot in the door a little bit and was able to gain more responsibility as the season went on. So, I'm just looking to build on that for the rest of this season and going on in the future as well.
Well, we're going to talk to you about a big goal you scored for the Golden Gophers, but also want to talk a little bit about your first two NHL goals.
Oh, yeah.
In your 2 games. How cool was that?
Yeah, no, that was great. It was a lot of fun. Obviously, you never know what's going to happen, and I would classify that as lucky, considering I have one even strength goal in the next 70 games or whatever that I played. But it was still a lot of fun, and I don't know, it was fun to start with a bang.
2013-2014 season, which was your senior year, it was a fun team. I mean, we not only was the senior group good, that upper class group, but the freshmen that were starting to come in were a lot of fun as well. I mean, Hudson Fasching among them. Tell us a little bit about what you remember about the chemistry of that team, which won the first Big Ten regular season title.
Yeah, well, I remember the year before we had lost, or going into that year, we had lost Bukestad, Halla, Alt, and Budish, I believe, and a couple other seniors. So I think at that point, expectations were actually lower. I'd say expectations from a fan's perspective, or maybe from the media's perspective, was lower for our senior year, but that ended up being a better year in a lot of ways in terms of record, in terms of how we finished. But I just remember everyone in that group really, really enjoying each other. And as we know, it's always easier to exceed expectations than live up to expectations. So sometimes when when people don't expect as much of you, you exceed them. And at that point, we started thinking, at the beginning of the year, we started winning some big games, and we started really believing in ourselves and seeing how good we really were.
When you look at score sheets, you start looking at the guys up front. You had a couple of exciting forwards, and Sam Warning and Kyle Rao, of course, who will figure into this story here in a couple of more words. Tell us a little bit about the D-core and about having Adam Wilcox in the net for you.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, we had a lot of great players, a lot of great forwards that could score, and a lot of good role players too. I think of a lot of the seniors, I wasn't a huge scorer on defense that year. Pirano, very solid. Tom Serratori, unbelievable role player. Nate Condon was a good scorer with a lot of speed. So a lot of good players. I think I kind of went away from your question a little bit, but back to the defense, we had a lot of great players there too, because we had Shazy, Mikey Riley, myself, Michael Brodzinski, Jake Bischoff. So a lot of guys that were really great players and were a huge factor in how we were able to succeed. And then obviously Coxie was unbelievable in his whole tenure as a Gopher. So never hurts to have him back there.
Yeah, first 2 years, his goals against were below 2. I think both of those years. That's awesome.
Which is outstanding.
So this is a team that played the outdoor game. You're going to go into the playoffs overall for the year. You only lost 7 games and only lost 3 conference games, but you go into the playoffs. You're going to the semifinals in Philadelphia, and you got North Dakota on the marquee for that semifinal game. What are some thoughts going into it? Are you thinking it's going to be a bruising game or a typical war?
Yeah, well, it's so crazy because every time we got into the tournament, whether it be regionals or Frozen Four, we always seem to run into North Dakota somehow, because when we were there, I think my sophomore year, we beat them in the regional finals to go to the Frozen Four, which was an unbelievable experience in itself. So we just always found a way to meet them at some point, even after the season had ended. So I think all of us thought that this is just kind of fate. This is how it goes. We had a better season up to that point in terms of record, but they had a great team.
You know what? Let's talk about that last shift. Huh? You're in regulation. You're killing a penalty. You get the goal. And if you weren't going to mention this, Justin, I was. You score this momentous goal that everybody's going to remember for the rest of their Gopher lives. It was your only goal that season.
That's right. I know. I remember I had a couple of good chances to score, I think, in the first 2 games, and I didn't. I think I got an assist on one of them or something, but I had a wide open net and I put it wide and someone scored. But anyways, I remember thinking at that point, I'm like, oh yeah, they'll come. And then all of a sudden, like, I didn't, score for the rest of the year, but I guess it ended up coming at a good time.
Well, I looked at that goal, I think at the time, I don't know, maybe a dozen times or so. There's so many things that had to happen. I don't remember exactly. That face-off happened less than 10 seconds left in regulation. Mm-hmm. Rao has to win the face-off. Do you remember all of the other things that had to fall into place in order to get you for a chance to score?
Yeah, I do. And I remember we had kind of gotten dominated in that game up until that point, or at least in the third period, I seem to recall. I don't know if that's correct or not, but we were kind of on the ropes, and then we take the penalty, so we're like, well, we could be in trouble going into OT here. This is not a good situation to be in. And then what happened on the draw, I don't remember everything based on memory, but I do remember it based on what I see when I see the clip again. Sure. And I think Rao won the draw, and I actually didn't box out my guy correctly. He kind of got around me, but it gave Shazy enough time to chip it up the wall. But it ended up being a good thing that the guy went past me, because then I was able to jump into the play a little bit. And I remember jumping into the play for a second and then hesitating, but then I looked up at the clock and there was like 5 seconds left. So I was like, whatever, we'll see what happens. And so I think I was calling for a drop pass from Rouser, and he ended up shooting it, hit his shin pad. And it was just kind of a split-second reaction for me, because it was coming back at me to use my skate to try to kick it to myself. And I did. And I remember specifically, this is the one thing I vividly remember, is at the time thinking in my head for a split second, wow, that actually worked out really well, because it ended up right on my tape. And so then at that point, I just fired it. And I didn't even see it go in, but obviously I saw the red light go off and everyone went nuts. And it was crazy.
Yeah, it was a great goal. I remember the building being quiet. I remember hearing the puck hit the post and going in, or hitting the post as it went in, and then the horn. I was confident that it would count. Were you confident that?
I had no idea. I just prayed to God. I hope that it counted, But Pirano, I remember, came off the bench and he was telling me like 100%, it's a goal. I saw the clock, whatever, but still I didn't trust it. I was still like, I don't know. It was pretty crazy. I don't really remember a whole lot after that split second,
There's one other item I want to bring back. It's a still photo of the goal, taken, I think, from the stands. I don't know if you remember that, but do you also talk to Seth Ambrose? Because I think he did a classic photobomb on your goal. You're nowhere to see, and he celebrated.
Well, Burroughs actually, he did photobomb it, but that was still an unbelievable picture, because you get to see the celebration. And, if it was him that scored, I would have been just as excited. So it's kind of fun to see that. And it was just a fun moment for everyone involved.
Tough game in the championship one, but you lost to a very good team in that Union game. But a semifinal appearance is nothing to be ashamed about. And it was a sad end, but it was a very good year for the Golden Gophers. I hope you have good memories from it overall.
I do. I mean, it'll haunt me for the rest of my life. There's no denying that. And it would have been a lot more fun if that goal would have meant a national championship, or if we would have finished it off. But, it's still a good memory, and we can still be proud of the way our team played. And, the important thing too is the relationships that we formed along the way. And I have a lot of good relationships with the guys that I played there with, and I wouldn't trade them for the world.
Justin Holl, thanks very much for joining us. We certainly want to see you back on the NHL ice this year, even though the chance might be slim, but maybe more than that. We want to see you with a long stretch here of full seasons in the NHL with the Maple Leafs going forward. Good luck to you very much, and stay healthy.
Well, I appreciate it, Maz. Thanks a lot.
All right, Justin Holl. This edition of Gopher Talk presented by Affinity Plus. Thanks very much for joining us, everyone.